guest today is Brandon L. Jack Brewer, local boxer who is also a promoter and doing an awful lot of extra things to make his career fly in Little New Brunswick. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So the obvious place to start, L. Jack.
L. Jack. I grew up and I went to school in Ackwick. When I first turned professional, I was always, you always think of what would my nickname be, or am I going to be the good guy, or am I going to be the bad guy? And my coach said to me, just be yourself, be what you are, and that'll be the easiest way to go. Yeah. And long story short, people kind of started calling me the Lumberjack, and then somebody said L. Jack, and it just kind of stuck, because being from Ackwick, home of the world's largest axe, and being from a family of lumberjacks. My dad works in the woods. My stepdad works in the woods. I grew up working in the woods, so it just kind of stuck.
So you said nicknames, and did your boxing career start in high school?
No.
Okay.
No, my boxing career started at, I had my first fight at the age of, 24. I was in March 2009. I didn't start probably until about 23, 24, yeah, so.
Well, that's okay. Save some wear and tear.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an awful lot of other athletes in other sports who start pretty young, and by the time they get to their late teens, sometimes they're burned out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, a lot of people see that as a negative, but I agree with you fully. For the longevity, I feel good about starting late. I see it as a positive, not a negative.
So I'm going to shift tone a little bit, and we'll come back to background and career stuff. But in prepping for the interview, I was watching YouTube clips, and there's a section called Sports Science. So when you go on YouTube, Sports Science, we'll put the link down below. There's one about the anatomy of a punch.
Yeah.
It is so fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. And they were comparing the speed of a rattlesnake bite for hand speed.
Okay.
It was tied to hand speed. So a rattlesnake bite is 15 feet a second. And then they went to a fellow named... Yeah. Then they went to a fellow named Chad Dawson. This was posted in 2011. Chad Dawson, at that time, I guess, was the light heavyweight champion at the time. And that man, with all the scientific measures and stuff, is 30 feet per second.
Is that right?
Was his punch?
Is that right?
And then
he wasn't known as an overly fast puncher either. But
fascinating, eh?
Yeah.
And then one other little bit, and then you teach us your world that way, is they wanted to see how many punches you could throw in 5 seconds. Do you have a rough, you want to play a game and just see how many punches you think you could throw in 5 seconds?
In 5, I would say probably, what type of punches?
He's in tight. Okay. They've got a dummy sitting on a chair, and he's not even this far away.
In 5 seconds, I would guess around 50.
Whoa. You're up there. He was 26 punches.
It was 26. Okay, I wasn't sure if he's fully extending or not.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I'm going to take him back, right? And they didn't measure the impact of the punches either.
Okay.
It was just speed.
Yeah.
Speed.
Yeah.
But that's roughly 5 punches a second.
That's quite something. That is quite something.
So I wanted to learn from you. When you train, do you factor any of that kind of high-end stuff in? Because the point of the sports science piece was the difference in hand speed is a key to your success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you can always train your speed and you can train your power, but you're born with natural reflexes, and some guys are just a little bit more fast switch than others, of course. I believe that, so part of it comes down to the genetics, of course, but I believe that the other part of it is believing in your speed. And thinking about when I first started boxing, I was really trying to improve, let's say if I throw a jab, a straight, and then a left hook. I would think about the left hook as I'm throwing the very first punch, so that in my mind I've almost already thrown it.
Yep.
So it's teaching me to be even faster than what I physically am.
Yep.
So I believe that part of it is, of course, the genetics, but the major part is truly believing that you're quick.
Yeah.
You have to believe it.
Because then your body will follow your intention.
Absolutely.
That way. Yeah. And then the rest just becomes the work. Somewhere there's a saying about 10,000 repetitions makes you a master.
That's right.
That kind
Yeah, Bruce Lee, absolutely.
So somewhere in your world, then, is that the speed bag thing that we see in the movies? You know, that because they were showing you the anatomy, and they showed the push from the ground, the way it came up through the legs,
Yep.
the snap of the shoulder, and then the extension. And so I was hoping they'd show how much force was coming out of that 2-inch square, space, but it was just pure speed. So when you train, is it just this, or how much feet ties to?
It's all feet. I mean, I don't want to say it's all feet, but I would say that it's 75% feet.
Really?
Yeah.
And yet TV shows you fists.
Well, TV shows, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, the common eye will watch a boxing match, and everybody watches the hands.
Yeah.
You know, but truly, like it's like trying to swing a baseball bat and hit a home run while jumping in the air. You know, it's just not possible. Like you don't have the power, and B, you don't have the foundation to shift weight back and forth from hand to hand. So yeah, it's more legs for sure.
So you willing to share? Doesn't have to be all your training secrets, but an example of footwork that you do, or the training you do for honing your fast twitch to right from your toes right up through your hands.
I'll tell you a little trick that I do sometimes when I'm on a heavy bag. We're always taught to breathe when we punch. So so it's pop, pop. Some guys they'll go 1, 2, or they'll make a certain noise per punch. And me, I'm more of I don't count so much. I'll just pop, 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 pop. Okay. I will almost try to make it sound that pop, pop, pop is just pop. So it's just completely together. You know what I mean? So if I can tie the sounds together, then I'm tying my punches together as well, a little bit quicker. That's kind of nice.
You're reminding me of in the sporting world, music world, and dance world too. A lot of times instructors, coaches, teachers will talk about visualize the whole thing and see it before it happens.
Yeah.
And when you talk about one pop actually being multiple pops, but so quick that it's all one, is that you saw that before you even did it.
Yeah.
And they're inviting your body to go that fast.
Absolutely. And there's a fine, like that's a double-edged sword. You want to be quick, but what happens if a punch comes between that? So you need to be so fast that you don't give them time to slide a punch in between there. But you have to be so aware that if it does, the hands are in the right places, and you can pull back on that leash a little bit and become defensive.
Yeah, because we were talking about the aggressive side of it, but is there a percentage of how much of it is the aggressive or the attack as opposed to the defense? Is there try to be 60-40 or 50-50? Or?
It's, I would say 100-100, you know, and I know that sounds strange, but every fighter's different, and you could put 100 different fighters in this chair, and you're probably going to get 100 different answers. But for me, I'm a very, very defensive-minded fighter. I'm always thinking defense over offense. You know, and there's a saying in sports, offense wins games, defense wins championships. And I truly believe that right down to boxing. So for me, it's more, I'm more of a defensive-minded fighter. And generally, the greatest fighters, for the most part, are defensive-minded. Some of the most exciting fighters are offensive-minded, but when we talk longevity and we talk health, I think it's better to be a defensive-minded fighter.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And sliding into health, your early 30s?
32, yeah.
Yeah. You've been at this since you said 24?
Yeah.
How long do you think you can go?
I think that, well, everybody's different, but I myself that I'm just starting to enter my prime, and the question is how long can I ride my prime out? And then what do I do when I start declining? That's the problem. A lot of guys fight a certain way, and then when their bodies change, their game doesn't change with it. You have to adjust accordingly. Maybe your reflexes aren't quick, so you have to really become a little bit more defensive minded, or maybe keep your hands up a little better. But I think that I don't want to, I want to retire at the top. I don't want to retire at the bottom. So I could say I could do it till 50, but I'd probably end up retiring at the bottom.
Yeah.
I think that I can retire at the top by 38, 40. Yeah.
So the shelf life of your career is roughly 15, 16 years.
I would say. Yeah, I would say so. That's as long as I am smart and get out at the right time.
Yep. And I find pro sports draws lots of attention. It's a major form of entertainment on television nowadays. And it gets put in a certain box. And the box is sort of incomplete because we see the athlete seen a certain way. How often do you see the athlete when they're 40 or 50 or 60? I'm thinking of football right now.
Yeah.
The wear and tear is phenomenal. So often not reported, I mean, unless it's a special feature,
Yeah.
is the shelf life of the athlete. The wear and tear on the body, that would be like workplace injuries anywhere else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the people will chirp sometimes about the dollars paid. So especially American sports, they really reward their pro athletes at a high level because of the TV revenues, etc. It's not the same in Canada. But there's a balance to what that life is like, your commitment to it. It's very different from an Olympics attempt. And so, you know, what other place would you go to such physical risk for a career that's going to last 10 or 12 years?
Yeah, it's true. And to be honest, like a lot of people ask me the same question, how long can I do this for? And boxing isn't as hard on my body as what people would think. I can't really play volleyball anymore because it hurts my feet and it hurts my knees and it hurts my shoulders. You know,
You're over 30.
Yeah, you know, like running around, jumping around isn't the easiest as it was when I was 20.
Yeah.
But boxing, my body has adjusted and almost a sport adaptation. You know, it's grew to be a certain way so that I can, you know, I basically, my body's built for boxing now.
Yeah.
And it's not as hard on the body as one would think. And the thing is, with a lot of professional athletes, not all of them, but a lot of them, they have off seasons, and sometimes maybe they get out of shape or they just do things. And you know, being a fighter and living the life of a fighter, I have to take care of myself. You know, I really, everything that right down to I don't party anymore. I don't drink. I don't even stay up too late.
Yep.
I make sure that, you know, I get lots of swimming in and hot yoga and eat clean food. So, you know, I really make sure that I take care of myself so I can fully maximize that longevity.
That's great. When you walked in for the interview, you had a mason jar with you with this juice in it. So do you mind sharing what's in your
that was just a little bit of amino acids, which essentially our body produces anyways. But training the way I do, and
you have to replenish?
I just like to replenish a little bit. So, yeah.
Just so the audience knows, we're recording this interview roughly 2 weeks before LJAC has a major fight going down in Fredericton, New Brunswick. So you're kindly taking time out of your training schedule and all the other things you have to do because you're hitting towards peak. So there's less and less wiggle room for variation. The focus has to be on that.
It's good though. I look forward to always speaking about my career and speaking about the things that I have coming up. And you know, this is almost the taper week, so I have a little spare time that I like to slide in.
That sounds like a runner, because runners will push maybe 10 days before, and if you let go, let the body replenish.
Yeah.
Let the strength come back. Let's slide a bit to the event then. This interview will probably last on the internet for a couple of years, but we're at the front end of an event, and if we get it up quickly, you'll get a chance to promote that way too. And you're the organizer, aren't you?
Yeah. I started a business last year, a promotion company, and I wouldn't call myself a promoter. I would call myself an event organizer.
Good.
Because I'm not really a promoter per se. I don't deal with the fighters. I don't deal with the the logistics as far as numbers and trying to match this guy up with that guy. I don't do that. I know what the show is supposed to look like as far as from a fan's point of view.
Yep.
And I make that happen, and I have tremendous support in the community that I'm from the people and from the just businesses and just the overall general public, that I have a lot of connections, and everybody's always willing to help out to really tie it all together to make it sure it's a good show.
So it's interesting to think of a major boxing promotion in a small market. Atlantic Canada basically is quite small market.
Yeah.
That it's like a community affair. Like,
It is.
as opposed to if you're in Toronto or Montreal, the professional promoter comes in like you just described.
Yeah.
It's a different feel to it.
My goal when I first started this was to build it so big that when it comes fight night, that the entire province just shuts down and everybody goes. and you see like in the movies where it's, hey,
Yeah.
closed for business, gone to the fights.
Texas high school football.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. And so obviously it's possible.
Yeah.
We just got to get there. So
Yeah, and you're breaking new turf, which is an interesting feature to add to that. It's not like somebody's blazed a trail before you and you're following it behind. You're trying to do something that most people have not even tried before.
yeah, some people call me. I even call myself crazy sometimes. I'm not sure. I was asked a long time ago, what do you want to do in life? What do you want to be remembered by? And that question is stuck in my head.
Yeah. What's your purpose?
Yeah. And I don't want to go down the road that somebody else has gone down. That's their road.
Yeah.
And I get inspired by their road, absolutely. And I learn from their road.
Yeah.
And I get encouraged and motivated from that. But I want to do my own thing. I want to pave my own road. I really, really, really do. And I want to do it, make it as close to the vision that I have in my mind. And so it's tough. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of work and patience.
Yeah.
But I've got enough of those traits to make it happen. So.
And it sounds like, too, you're able to harness the different energies you need for the different things, because prepping for a fight, high focus, high risk, but managing or being an event organizer, slightly different kind of energy, a little bit of herding the cats, and trying to get everyone sort of seeing the common vision about how this event can go down.
Yeah.
And then the pure practical logistics of, are the tickets ready? Do we have the advanced sales thing up yet? All those mechanical pieces.
It is quite something. When I'm in the gym, I'm good because I forget about everything I do. Like I love the sport of boxing so much, and especially doing it. That I forget everything outside of the gym. But then, I get out and it's back to the logistics and little things and whatnot. And I'm able to switch the hat pretty well. I'm getting better. I'm not great. I'm good, but I'm not great at it. But I have a tremendous, tremendous team that makes me look great. And
you want to name some of them so people know? And without, if someone's forgotten, it's not a deal. It's because I just put them on the spot.
I'll name it, and
Sure,
in no order, really.
Yeah.
Billy Tretiak, Ray Tretiak, Tyler Chatwin, Terry Oakes, and Mike Fitz. And by far the man I owe the most to is my coach, Aubrey McLeod. He's not even a coach. He's a wizard. I don't know what he is. He's just the absolute scientist when it comes to boxing, inside and outside the ring. He's been the absolute blessing to my career. And so without those guys, I don't know where I would be. They keep me sane when I go crazy, and they keep me, I don't need a lot of help staying focused, but I do need some help with the tiny things that sometimes the pebbles kind of get in the shoe.
Yep.
And they wear on me sometimes, and they're always there to make sure that I got a fresh pair of shoes or something, you know. So it's good.
It's nice. Nice touch too. The mentor. Do you have a little gem, maybe one little gem you could share about a moment where coach kind of got you to see something? Because there's so many different styles of coaches, and there's some, and you've already described them wonderfully, because he's the kind of bring the best out of you.
Yeah.
So it's all about you, and he'll kind of slide over here, but give you that little this way, that way. There's the technique thing,
Yeah.
but there's also the heart or the soul of that little technique thing.
Yeah. He, you know, like, because, I mean, of course, like any great athlete they should watch tape. They should watch tape on the athletes before them. And look at the way they've done things. If I want to learn to throw a great left hook, I'll look at guys like Joe Louis or Oscar De La Hoya or Miguel Cotto, and or a straight right hand, you look at Bernard Hopkins or Floyd Mayweather, it doesn't matter. But I was always trying to steal the best qualities from the guys who threw that, punched the best, or had the best footwork or whatever. And I would sometimes get frustrated because I would get it, but I would not quite get it exactly the way they were doing it. And he was always saying, he's like, you're not going to be them. You're not going to be them. You're going to be Brandon Brewer. He's like, and that man has no limits. You know, he can take the best from the best and put it all together and puts his own spin on it. He's like, there's a lot of guys, oh, that guy fights like that guy, or that guy fights like that guy. He says, you are seriously paving, there is no other fighter like you. And you can say that about a lot of fighters, but I truly believe I have some of the best qualities from some of the best fighters. I've just thrown my own twist on it. You know, I kind of took it all, threw it in a box, shook it up, and see what I came up with. And he really started making me believe that I'm a special fighter. And I believe that. Yeah. And that's a dangerous thing. So
you're there. In the music world, as you described that, makes me think of Joe Cocker doing a cover of a Beatles tune. And suddenly it's Joe Cocker's tune, it's not the Beatles tune anymore.
Yeah.
Because he brought something about him to it, and it became a whole other song, even though you know the lyrics and you know the melody and you know the cadence. You know? Yeah. So that's a form of alchemy, to take something and let it morph and become what it truly wants to be.
Yeah.
That's fun, which would tie back to purpose. So can we slide a bit into, at 32, forging a career that's going to last 10 or 15 years, but it anchors to something so much bigger, which is your sense that this is somehow connected to what you were supposed to be doing here. This purpose touch, you know.
Yeah, graduating high school, I was an intelligent kid. I was blessed with I was.
So good. You're not now?
I'm not a kid anymore.
I was. I'm sure it's still in there.
I was a smart kid in the sense that when it came to studies, school, and the education and whatnot, I was good with numbers. I could recite a poem just as well as I could figure out a physics problem. Yeah. And it felt like the route that I was kind of guided down was, well, you're a really smart boy who's really good at building things. At home, I was always kind of taking the Nintendo controllers apart and trying to fix them. And they're like, oh, you're good with numbers and you can build things and you should be an engineer. Yeah. So that was kind of the road that I definitely wasn't pushed down it, but I believed was right for me. And I moved in Fredericton. I did 3 years of mechanical engineering. And the more that I got into it, the more I realized I didn't want to do it. Like most males, I think sometimes women find themselves sooner than men, and men sometimes kind of drag their butts. And I was early 20s, and I still had no idea what I wanted to do. But
to give grace on that, things have changed a lot for men the past 30, 40 years. Absolutely. So in some ways, you're kind of right on time by finding your stride in your mid to late 20s.
Yeah, and so by the time I think I was 22, 21. 21. I was getting out of, I had enrolled in Canadian Armed Forces, and I did 3 years as a reservist as an infanteer down in one RMBR. And I needed that because I was kind of maybe not paying attention as much as I should have been in school. I was partying, I was doing, I was drinking and doing drugs and
doing what you're supposed to do,
yeah,
exploring, man.
absolutely.
You're from Nackwick.
Making mistakes.
You've moved to the big town of Fredericton, you know?
Absolutely. So I just, you know, and it was kind of getting a little out of control because I was getting in some fights and I was getting in a lot of trouble, and maybe the drugs and the partying was getting a little out of hand. And I quit university, and then I was in the military for two more years, and I realized I just didn't want to do that either. I really didn't want to do it, and I was 22, 23 now, and I was confused on what path was I supposed to take. And I remember I got out of the military, I dropped out of university, I lost my license drinking and driving, and I moved back in with my mom in the trailer park at 23. And so I had no job, and I had some time to think about what I was doing. And the only thing that didn't leave, I was evolving as a man, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do this. So, okay, I don't want to do that. The one thing that stuck with me was I want to be an athlete. You know, I miss being an athlete. I was a star athlete in high school, and then I not only wanted to be an athlete, I enjoyed fighting. But I didn't enjoy the hurting people. I enjoyed the challenge of man against man. I enjoyed that. We all have that in us, whether some people, you know, whether we want to believe it or not, we're all animals, really. And I enjoyed that part, man versus man. I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't want to do it. You know, I was never a bully. I always got along with everybody. But I miss being an athlete, and I like to fight. I did, and so I was like, it's just a matter of time. Like, you're good at math, put 2 and 2 together. You know, like, come on. So I finally, you know, found enough courage to tell my mother that I wanted to box and I wanted to do this. And you know, for me, it was different. I wasn't just a regular Joe say, hey, I want to go try boxing. I went to that boxing club with a purpose. I went there believing I was going to be a world champ from the moment I walked up the stairs. So.
Center up just for a second. And that was that your first time into a club?
Or? Yeah. And actually, I put up a heavy bag in my mom's shed. I tried a little bit. I finally got a job. You know, I wasn't a bum. I wasn't living off. My mother doesn't make much money at all, so I wasn't living off of her. It was found a job, got out, moved in with my friends, was partying again. But I took that heavy bag with me. I ended up getting an ulcer in my stomach and getting like alcohol poisoning, and just got, you know.
You're right in that space.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of young men in that space, and that's a whole other story about older male mentorship and making you feel safe while you explore, but still there to pull you out when you need to pull you out.
Yeah. So when the doctor said you can't drink for a while, and so that I finally said, okay, time to stop hitting the bag in the basement, go to the boxing club, and let's do this.
So you're going into the gym for the first time, and you've moved on your own, and you're catching that you need to continue your shift in the direction that you're going.
Yeah, I walked, you know, and it was a heck of a boxing class. It was a great boxing club, the Fredericton Boxing Club, and it still is. And I walked in there, and I just had so much purpose. I took so much energy. And I was there not to prove myself to everybody else. I was there to prove myself to myself, and to start working towards turning myself into the athlete that I saw, you know. And that was exciting to me, and it consumed me. It absolutely consumed me. Like, as you know, growing up, you always, I mean, I always watch like guys like Wayne Gretzky or Michael Jordan, and they've, you know, or these people who have, you know, with great successes speak about this dream that they had. And I always question, it's like, is it like this special dream that they had during the middle of the night? Like, what is this? And I never understood that until I went to the boxing club and completely got consumed by the sport. Ever since then, I can't sleep. I just dream about it. I wake up in the middle of the night and go for a run. I just wake up in the middle of the night, watch YouTube, watch fights. It absolutely consumed me. It was, you know, there's a saying that boxing, you don't choose boxing, boxing chooses you. And I truly believe that. And so it was exciting. I felt like I had finally found at least the road that I should be on. And to me, it's exciting. It was a little nerve-wracking for some of my family, but because they saw the look in my eyes when I said, this is what I'm going to do. So they were a little nervous, but they're good now.
You helped them through.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's part of being a trailblazer. You know, you're the first down that path, and you got to help the others understand what you see and you feel.
Yeah.
I want to explore a bit because the competition and the mano a mano thing, and the fact that it's animal, very, very true. I sometimes wonder, as a tangent, why politics is so far off course, or economics is so far off course, because they want to treat it like competition. You watch any election, they cover it like a sporting event, and it's not. You're talking about the governance of all the people in a certain geographic area.
Yeah.
It's not a sporting event. It's actually a philosophical, values-driven kind of exercise of community building.
Yep.
So win, lose. No, there's no win, lose. It's the wrong paradigm. Because somewhere in our bones, there's still that competitive drive that's not being nurtured or fostered in a more productive place, you know, instead of being shifted over to there. But buried in there, in that competition thing, and is the fact that you're hitting someone else, right? Yes. But to be gracious about that too, football has gotten some American football has gotten way off the mark because you don't have a chance to defend yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but you have had at the end of those hands, you've had that sensation through your gloves of hitting someone else. Sometimes it's scoring points, but sometimes it's like time to end this now. So can you share, because that's such an inside peek as to what that's like, because most of us will never ever know that sensation in the safety of sport with referees and guidelines and all that stuff, but you still get to let that piece of the human physiology, psychology out.
Yeah, it's quite something, and it's hard to wrap your mind around until you've actually done it yourself, because like out of all the guys I've ever fought in the ring, I share this bond with them that I you know, I'll never have with people who I haven't gotten in the ring with. And it's no greater, it's just different. It's a different type of respect. And we don't see it as hurting, even though we may say that sometimes. It's more of a, like, I don't want to hurt anybody when I'm in there. I want to win.
Yeah.
And, you know, yes, there's punching involved, but it's either them or me. And so, I mean, it's got to be them. Because, you know, as a boxer, and I know I speak for probably 99% of the fighters out there, we don't like getting hit any more than the people who don't box like getting hit.
Yep.
So, but when you're on the adrenaline flying, you don't feel the pain. There is no pain.
Yeah.
And it's just friendly competition, and it just happens to be that people envision it or tie it with pain and trying to hurt each other. It's not so much that. It's the only thing that I want is the win. That's what I want.
And I read somewhere ages ago that the #1 sports movies are boxing. Yeah. So more boxing movies have been made than golf movies or baseball movies. And I think baseball was second, though.
Yeah.
Buried with that is what Hollywood will do to boxing. And it can't be this, because what you just described is very different from what we think we learn from watching a boxing movie.
Yeah. The Rocky movies have kind of thrown the opposite type of effect that boxers really want. They're great movies, and it's and the outside of the ring stuff, the rags to riches story is quite true in the boxing world. However, boxers don't get that much. It's not as and boxers don't get as punchy as that. But I think boxing, it's called the sweet science for a reason. The number one, it being the number one amount of sports movies out there. It's because people appreciate the team sports are great. Don't get me wrong. I grew up playing team sports.
Yep.
But when it's mono against mono, there's just so much more pride. There's so much more. You literally see what each human has inside of them, and you're not only learning about them, but they're learning about themselves. There is nobody to pass the puck to or pass the ball to, and there is no shift change or any of that. Not to say those other sports aren't hard, because they are absolutely.
Yeah, they've all got those elements, but not the one-on-one.
Boxing is just let's get in the ring and
fundamental.
See who comes out, and it's a little bit more pure, I think.
So following that theme about boxing, do you feel, and as you've learned the sport and lived it now for a while, has it changed? Because a lot of audience members might be going back to Ali Fraser, Ali Foreman, that kind of era.
Yeah.
Something shifted around Lennox Lewis's era and Mike Tyson stuff. Too much TV, too much hype compared to the sweet science. And when you said sweet science, I went, oh yeah, I remember that phrase.
Yeah. I think that it all comes down to who is the top dog. Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson were completely different.
Yeah, two different creatures.
Absolutely. And I think that with some of the stuff that Ali was, and when we talk about Muhammad Ali, he will forever be known as the greatest, not because he was the best boxer. I don't believe he was the best boxer. He's definitely top three for sure. Yeah. Muhammad Ali was the greatest because of the things he did inside and outside of the ring. And just I don't think there's a more popular or more well-known human being.
Yeah, his recognition factor, even at the tail end of his career, was up there with Mahatma Gandhi and other world leader types,
Yeah.
So do you have a top three?
Do I have a top three?
And different weight classes. We know those names because we know the heavyweight division gets all the attention. So
I can give you
Sugar Ray and
Sugar Ray Robinson. And my coach the other day, Aubrey, he said, people always say this guy or that guy or that guy, and then you get a bunch of people arguing against the fact, oh, it's this guy. When somebody says that Sugar Ray Robinson was the best,
Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Robinson.
Sugar Ray Robinson.
Okay.
Nobody argues.
I'm making sure.
Nobody argues that. So, for the people out there who haven't seen Sugar Ray Robinson, YouTube, and you will see probably the greatest fighter of all time. I believe that Muhammad Ali was the greatest in the sense of the stuff he did outside the ring. Sugar Ray Leonard was one of the best. I believe that Floyd Mayweather is probably not. He would probably be the best defensive fighter of all time.
Right.
But it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick.
So to play back to your career, what happens after the 2 weeks in the next fight? So what is the career path for a fighter from Nakawik living in New Brunswick to get to be the best in the world?
Consistency, and I'll fight, and I'll fight, and depending on how I feel. But the next day is, my body is what's going to put me there.
Yeah, but are you on other people's radar? You must be on other people's radar. And then do you start being invited down to Vegas or to New York?
I have been invited to Vegas. I've been invited to New York. I've been invited to England. But things have to match up. There's a lot more boxing. Amateur boxing is a sport. professional boxing is a business. So there's a lot of ducks that need to be put in order before we can, you know, sign a contract and actually come face to face in a ring with somebody. As far as guys on, if I'm on anybody's radar, I don't believe so. Nobody's calling my name, you know, and
So does that become the next step?
Well, maybe I have to start calling some names. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Because to reach your vision,
Yeah,
of you know, to be the best at your craft for your division. Or your
I believe that because I started so late, I didn't have this standout amateur background,
right.
Which a lot of guys do.
Yep.
A lot of the top guys. When I turned professional, I wasn't catered to. I wasn't said, "Here's a contract, and we'll take care of you. Here, let me fluff your pillow. Let me do all this." And I say that with no disrespect. I mean, if it was there for me when I first turned pro, I would have took it too. Absolutely.
Yep.
But I wasn't hand fed anything. I wasn't hand fed anything at all. So I understand that I'm going to get to the point where somebody will call me out, and they think, and it'll be probably a big name, and they'll probably say, okay, he's got a good record. Doesn't have a big amateur background. He's not a former Olympian. Yeah. He's not a big national champ.
Comes from a small
town. He's a redheaded white guy from the Eastern Maritimes. You know, I'm not supposed to be good at boxing. I'm not supposed to. Does not, you know, you don't expect that. And so they're going to call me out, and I'm going to go in being the guy who's supposed to lose.
Yeah, you'll be the underdog for a while.
Yeah, and I'm going to shock the world. I know I am. I know I am. Manny Pacquiao did it. Yeah. And many other boxers have done it. You know, and people see it as a negative. No, I'm not hand-fed anything. The opportunities may not be there, but I see that as a positive. And I guarantee I'm probably hungrier than most fighters in the world because of that.
And you're bringing a maturity to it too, because a bit more life experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's the thing. You get a lot of these young athletes like Mike Tyson. You know, he was a millionaire by the time he was 18, 19. He'd never experienced drugs and women, like, you know, and partying and people trying to steal from him, and, you know, life in general.
Yeah, no, and it was hard to maintain balance.
Absolutely. I've experienced that. You know, before I made my mistakes before I started boxing, so I don't get, like, after the fights, the partying, going out with friends. The chasing the girls. I don't do that. I did that when I was younger. So it's not going to sidetrack me.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely, maturity is on my side.
This might sound a little off, but in my head, I'm thinking it wants to connect. You talked about the man-to-man challenge, and you talked about the mentor. You talk about purpose. You're sharing all these wonderful pieces. I want to tie it to manhood. You know, do you feel like it's helping you evolve as a man? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Oh, I didn't know who I was until I started fighting. And even then I wasn't a man, but I knew the type of man that I wanted to be. The thing is, I believe that boxing, and it's just with society in general, I think that we've lost touch on a lot of good principles, you know, as far as respect, hard work, feeling too many people feel entitled to too many things nowadays without having to work hard, and just self-discipline and fighting taught me all those. They didn't only, I knew them, but they pulled them out of me in the fullest effect that it possibly could have ever. Like, in boxing, if you don't have respect, patience, work ethic, discipline, consistency, you're going to fall behind. And the truth will come out in the ring, whether you worked your butt off or not, if you made sacrifices and were disciplined in camp. So I have to live by those things that made me into a man.
And it's not just something you do in practice. Right?
No.
It's something you do.
That's what you have to become. Yeah. So absolutely, boxing helped me shape me into the man that I want to be.
Is it fun?
Yeah. It is. It really is.
What's the most fun part for you?
What's the most fun part? Sparring.
Yeah.
Yeah, just sparring would be, I don't want to say fake fighting because we're definitely not fake.
No.
Sparring would be getting there in the ring and fighting with your training partners, and that's the funnest for me because it's the challenge. It's the closest to a fight. With the fight is fun, the winning is fun, but the sparring every other day is so much fun to me because I forget about everything. I'm in my that's my sanctuary. That's the place that really makes me feel at home the most. And I don't know, there's just something about it. I just enjoy it. It's definitely not the running or the not eating chocolate cake when I want to eat chocolate cake, but
and there's none of this drinking a whole glass full of raw eggs and all that other foolishness.
Nah. I tried it once and
You did try it.
Oh, I had to. I mean,
how long did they stay down?
Oh no, they stayed down. I could put them down, but I question why I did that. It's not for me.
Well, let's take a minute and play with diet then. Our previous guest, Jacqueline Wilson, talked with much knowledge and a friend of yours, acquaintance of yours, about her diet. And it was fascinating to take a peek in behind what it's like for a competitive professional athlete at a world scale. So
Yeah.
And you had mentioned some of it earlier, but do you eat 5 meals a day? So you spread it out over a day. Do you focus on, it's 3 weeks before competition, I need to pack up on protein. It's 2 weeks before competition, I got to start putting in more carbohydrate then.
I eat accordingly to my training. I believe that it's all about putting fuel. I don't see food as food. I see food as fuel. Okay. And let's say if I take my car and I drive it to wherever, I drive it hard as can be for about 4 hours. I need fuel. And if I want that drive to be, the performance of the car to be the best it possibly can be, well, I need some rocket fuel. Yeah. Meaning I need good, clean fuel. Like you can't expect to have a Ferrari. You don't put sand or regular gas in a Ferrari if you want the Ferrari performance.
So is your high test stuff, is it organic?
Yeah, organic, all grass fed. I'm not a vegetarian, but because I thrive off of red meat. I really do. I feel good off of red meat. But I do like to get protein from beans and chickpeas and just things like that. I try to stay as organic as I possibly can because it's the cleanest. It's the cleanest. It's by far the best fuel. And I've taught myself to be so in tune with my body that I'll eat something and then I'll go work out and I'll pay strict attention to how I feel. And if it's good, then we'll keep that. If it's not, then get rid of it.
I just had a random thought that wants to connect. We have several guests on the show over the past 3 years that talk about food and farming and food security. It'd be very interesting to include you one day into a conversation about food because it really applies a very powerful and wonderful lens onto the impact. Because for you, it's tied to your Ferrari and where you want it to go.
Yeah. I believe, and I've talked to a bunch of different nutritionists, and they'll all say roughly the same things, but sometimes they'll say a little different thing, the odd thing that's a little different. And I think that you need to really, it gets more specific, say, well, this is right, this is the way it should be. No, that's not maybe so. You and I are different. I have a different blood type. You have a different blood type, possibly. So maybe our bodies are going to react differently to certain foods. I've eaten according to my blood type. I've eaten according to my background. I'm Scottish and Irish. You know, those type of people usually thrive off of red meat. So I think it's everybody's a little different.
Yep.
I just think that obviously it should be clean, and timing is so important. You know, I put the food in my body when the body has given me a good performance. I throw it in there when the car is already warm.
Yep.
So, and that's why I don't get sore. I train so much all the time that as long as I put the good clean fuel in my body, as soon as while the engine's still hot, I won't get sore. So it's kind of a science, yeah.
Thanks for letting us have a peek into that.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
it's cool. We have about a minute left.
Okay.
How would you like to end this conversation, which has been wonderful? You've shared so much.
The thing is that I like that, especially around here, is the community is really coming back and opening their eyes and opening their minds to boxing. It makes me excited when I see somebody who I would not believe would be overly excited about boxing open up and welcome it into, you know, their minds, their, you know, their whole thought process that boxing is good, opposed to boxing is fighting. Mm-hmm. You know, boxing is a great thing. It's changed my life. I see it change troubled youth lives every day at the boxing club.
Yeah.
It's something that is a positive thing for society, and something that can teach our society so many good things. So,
great.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time and sharing so much and sending us off on such a good note.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Be good, have fun, and love each other.